Assertions and questions left on my channel being responded to. Warning, the following two individuals are not jerks or anything. They're just saying things based on what they're able to consume. Clear your caches, clear your cookies, use a brand new browser you downloaded that's portable, that lets you read all the news and block all the ads. See if you find the same results when you look for them. Don't look at pages you've looked at before. Stop going to your favorite news sources. Because they want your views, they'll keep feeding you what their audience wants to see. You're in a Google bubble, is what it's called these days. You're in a search bubble. Don't forget that. Most of the individuals here are suffering from, what should we call it? Algorithmically induced echo chambers. You know, the Google bot. You don't think they exploit both sides? Both sides. Tiny hands. Gobble, gobble. So here we go. Merry Turkey Day. Well, don't marry a turkey. There's no way they are going to ever let us know any of this. It's a cover. Gobble. I think even if some higher-ups favor Trump, they're not going to be embarrassed that their so-called secure election ever was a hot mess. I don't care what mainstream media says, because we all know they're mostly owned by Dems. That last part is probably not true, but I have to wonder about it sometimes. They lie about everything these days, even the sources we can trust, or what the vote counters say. No, they do report what the vote count people and the official vote tallies say. They then start predicting shit for 90% of the time you're looking at it, but 10% of the time or less, they actually tell you what the answers are because they want to predict things. It's like they're watching a horse race and they get all excited. They need to stop doing that. I think it should be legally compelled for you to keep your FCC license or still be on cable, that you're not allowed to predict the results. You're only allowed to report them. You know, like news people. They kept saying every 5 minutes, we're going to get some numbers really soon for 3 fucking days from Arizona or Nevada or Georgia or Pennsylvania or all of them. Remember CNN doing that? Remember that long ticker tape of shit? Running ads about how you can sue a company for using a medication that hurt you, alternated with medication ads that will eventually be involved in lawsuits. Did any of you remember that? I don't watch mainstream media because they are based on Nielsen ratings or some other such shit and advertisement pop-ups, which I block meticulously and militantly on my browser. Do you really think I'd put up with this shit if I didn't have to? I made myself sit there because the news would have gotten the information faster, but they kept teasing it for 3 damn days. But no, mainstream media never milks anything. Do you remember CNN on 9/11? Does anybody remember that? Them continually getting shit wrong? We're doing continuous 24-hour coverage of something that happened on one day for a year. Exploiting the dead. No, I don't like mainstream media. When CNN put out their video recordings, they always had to have a watermark on it and a ticker and other shit covering often the part we needed to look at to figure out what the fuck happened that day. Ergo, CNN did 9/11 for the money. No, I'm not nice about mainstream media. I don't use them. They lie about everything these days, even the ones we trust, and what the vote counters say. No, they kept predicting what the vote would be. They kept accurately, but only rarely, like 1/10 or 1/20th of the time, telling you what they were dead ass getting told. They spent over 90% of their time keeping you on that dial. Don't change that dial. When they had nothing to report, because mainstream media has turned into a 24/7 shit parade. What's funny is Fox News only came to conclusions when they were dead ass sure that that's the way things were going, because they had some insider information half the time. And that's because somebody at the place said, got to tell you something, you need to call the state. Why? We're counting them. We're keeping them off to the side because we're waiting until we finish double checking them. But we're aware in Maricopa County that Trump lost because the others are done. That's pretty much what happened. I'm not saying Fox is better than CNN. I mean, they did basically the same thing. But seriously, CNN, you spent 3 days teasing us about a state that had told you flat out we don't know. Or they were saying, well, we'll have it any minute now. I don't think you should have listened to that. After the first 24 hours, you just said, we're not going to report anything until they change the number on their screen. The governors are going to lie and cover up. Or the counters and government. No, in most cases, that's not what's going on either. And that's been double checked. Sorry. You need to make sure you're not in the bubble, please. But maybe you're not. I don't know. You think states are going to admit they let shit get by that shouldn't have? They have. If they don't, and it gets found out later, they get in a lot more trouble because that does look like a rigged election. They can't have that happen. Why are you making this assertion? The infamous most secure election ever screwed up. That was Donald Trump's claim. He's also made the claim that it was completely secure and perfect, except for the votes for Biden, which is situational ethics or special pleading or some other damn fallacy. Even expert analysts that have been doing the math on elections for years were baffled by those first couple nights when Biden would suddenly run almost exactly even or jump ahead by 150,000 votes in the early AM. In no time, excuse me. If it was Trump, I wouldn't concede either. But that was explained by them deciding to make the system to where it would cause those leaps and bounds. Instead of having a slow trickle where they kept counting and kept updating, there's a couple of ways of doing this. One of these is you update based on the collection of ballots by type, which is what most of them did that caused that. The other states don't do that. They have a lot longer history of doing this, a little bit, in my opinion, better. The other one is you give up the vote information to the people once you double-checked a collection of votes by type or by area or whatever, but you only do it then. The other one is once you get to a certain number of ballots, either way, you report them. So you state, we will report when we get more than 10,000 votes finally double-checked to go for one politician or another. The ballots contain dozens of things to sign off on. The president, vice president, technically they're both something you have to check mark depending on where you are. I'm sorry, but which is really annoying. The other thing is they had like county commissioners and city councilmen and all that kind of stuff. They have to do them in groupings so that they get the tally right. And different places do it different ways. And the places that you saw having these bursts of information were doing it by a method that you may not be familiar with. And they've explained this. This has been asked and answered. This isn't a discussion anymore. A discussion is where you can have a conversation about something that is ambiguous. This isn't. Each state used slightly different methods. If you look at the methods they used to make the same argument from one state to another, that doesn't work. You need to look up why the election wasn't rigged, and you have to look up why the election could be rigged or how, but it's per state or per county, which is really weird in a couple of areas. I didn't know that would happen either. I mean, I knew it happened before, but I didn't think they would do it this year. The votes were decided by the states doing their count, not mainstream media. Not by the governors. The governors don't certify it any more than the legislature has any say in this. This information is done from the horse's mouth. That's why we only listen to them. If the legislature chooses to just ignore that Trump lost in their state, that just means they're criminals. The vote count is done based on counting the votes. And again, I have to mention this. Trump lost by, I think it's like 5 million votes now. That means you'd have to nullify 5 million votes over a large area. So you do it in an area you don't expect it? Okay? Instead of doing it in the real swing states, you do it in areas that are almost never swing states. That's just stupid enough to work. No, it means that there's going to be an automatic vote count and a lot of contention. If I was trying to win this election by cheating, I would do it in a place, I would only do swing states and just make it to where it looked a certain way. The claim is that vote tabulations were flipped. But you have to figure out that a lot of them used a paper trail or a paper tape recording of each machine in some cases, or they had their own independent hard drives that could not be rewritten afterwards because it was an encrypted file system. If you overwrite it, it'll break the encryption and the file goes blank. I mean, it looks like a big encrypted file that's broken. It's obviously broken. They didn't have any of these incidents. These people have signed affidavits, meaning you can go to jail if you lie. Assertion by someone. No. You can't go to jail for perjury, which is what you're claiming, or under penalty of perjury, unless someone proves that you said something that you knew wasn't true or believed wasn't true. It's a very high standard. If you're in a courtroom, you can be cross-examined into a corner where you have to say yay or nay, I'm aware of a reality. If you make a claim, the vote was rigged because my area has nothing but Republicans in it, and therefore any Democrat votes showed up have to be fraudulent. And then if you're informed that a bunch of Democrats moved in because they were part of my evil moo-ha-ha plan, then you can say, oh, okay, that's not really true because I didn't know we had a bunch of Democrats move into the area. We'll go hunt them tomorrow. The point is a lot of these people really did give an affidavit like that, period. There's thousands of affidavits, but they're all valid? The next thing is, on that point, there isn't actually any punishment if you lie if you just say a convincing answer why you were wrong. Being wrong isn't the same as lying. If you're in a courtroom and forced to be educated about what you're looking at, then you're asked, do you rationally believe as a reasonably prudent person that this was a rigged election now that you know that what you witnessed was this instead of this? If you still sit there and persist in saying, I believe the election was rigged, instead of saying, I believe what I saw was inconsistent with what has been explained to me, that last statement, actually both of them, would count as you being biased and you not caring about the truth. Many of these people observed election night activities that are commonly done in every other election, including the one where Donald Trump won. Unfortunately, they're not aware of that because they don't know what they're talking about. The people that you look up who have some knowledge of this, like actual poll watchers, or wannabe ones, amateur poll watchers, who've been there before, didn't make these claims. And they were in the same locations in some cases. The fraud is rampant. No, it's not, because it would have to be over 5 million votes falsified in areas where it'd be very suspicious to have happen. But that's just stupid enough to work. No, it's not. Again, I also have to point out that Trump's attorneys were given an unusual treatment. They were placed under oath and told, you have to tell us the truth. Do you have actual evidence of fraud? No. Do you have convincing witness testimony of fraud? You're required to answer. No. We're dismissing the case because you've acknowledged that you don't have evidence. That's what's happened enough times that it's very unusual when you have to take a lawyer who's being slimy and shifty normally and say, you're not allowed to lie anymore. When you're in a courtroom, you're not allowed to lie, but again, someone has to prove you said something with the intention of lying or knowing you were wrong or having been proved wrong before you asked the question. If you're told to sit through a court case, some of them did this, well, not in this case, but other cases, sit there and listen to testimony so you cannot be ignorant anymore. You can't get up and claim ignorance. You're told, knowing what you know now, observing all of this, as an observer in the courtroom, do you believe your original testimony or original affidavit was accurate? No. Thank you. Scrubbed. This has happened in court cases. It's a technique. It's called removing plausible ignorance or something like that. I just made that up. Do you honestly think Joe got more votes than Obama? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure Trump did too. I think Trump got more a more popular vote than Obama. I'm actually pretty sure of it. I didn't have to check. They're so close. Obviously, if one of them got more than Obama, so did the other. You know that, right? That's a very simple logical one. He did not even campaign. He didn't have to. They were voting against Trump, not for Biden. They could have voted for a pet rock. With Biden in office, this won't be investigated. And Trump was in office and totally didn't get taken to court or anything. To correct you, it was Hillary that was the birther. She started it all. No, one of her followers did it. Hillary did not. I already tracked that down. And no, I'm not giving you the lady's name unless you ask nicely. You have to acknowledge Hillary wasn't really the birther here. She's a troublemaker. I don't want her as a UN ambassador. Neither do I. But that doesn't have anything to do with this election. Biden won by majority vote. unless you're going to make an extraordinary claim and give extraordinary evidence. And even the lawyers involved say they don't have any evidence. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Thank you for your comments. I do appreciate it.